none of this represents these great, fantastic women who are all at the top of their game.
You're watching Chic Innovator. Stay tuned for fascinating topics, fascinating people that have style and are innovative. You're watching Chic Innovator. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It's free.
Toya Banks, CEO and founder of Hermanas Amigas Tequila.
And what else? Tell us your other titles. Do you have a couple of other titles?
I do. I am also the CEO and founder of R&T IMG Clinicals. R&T IMG Clinicals is a company that helps international medical doctors become U.S. licensed physician practicing here in the USA. We help them with clinical rotations. We help them with practicing for their licensing exams, and we help them apply for residency here in the U.S. Because there's so many vacant spots for as doctors. We're at a deficit. And then there's all these wonderful doctors outside of the country that want to come to the U.S. and be doctors. And so I started a company that helped these guys become U.S. doctors by helping them with their rotations, personal statements, learning the clinical skills, because in other countries it's a little different from how we treat our patients to how they treat their patients. So I started a company, and that is what we're totally geared toward. And I've been head of that company for 12 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Toya, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. I'm excited because, as all of you know, I have a non-for-profit called Pivoting in Heels.
I love it.
And this falls right in line.
Yes.
You are a fashionista.
Oh, okay.
You know, you are an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you're changing lives, so I think, with a lot of the things that you're doing, both from the medical side, and then we're going to talk about your tequila in just a little bit. But we definitely want people to know women such as yourself that are incredible, but at the same time giving back all the time and impacting other women, right? Because I think that's super important.
That is
I think there's
important.
a myth out there that a lot of times I've heard and I've not seen, thank goodness, with the women that I hang around with.
Yes.
You know, surround myself with, such as you, that are in my life, and I'm very grateful for that. That when we get to a certain point, when we're being successful, that we either isolate ourselves and that we don't, share it with other women, and that's not true.
That is not
there
true.
are so many of us that are supporting other women, cheering us on.
Yes.
But let's talk a little bit about you, because I want everybody to get to know your background, kind of how you got to where you're at, and why you do the things you do, right? So why don't we start? Tell us where you were born and raised, and give us a little bit of that background.
I am an official Chicago South Side young lady. Okay. I am the youngest of 9.
Oh my goodness, 9.
Okay, I am the youngest of 9. I started off wanting to be a nun, actually, believe it or not. Okay, so that went there. And
I have a couple of girlfriends that wanted to be a nun.
I know, right? I think
surprisingly.
Yes, and I then went into the healthcare field, and I've worked in the healthcare field in nursing for over 25 years. And
so you're a nurse?
I'm an emergency medical technician.
Okay, emergency medical technician.
And I started doing that, and then my husband of 18 years passed. But prior to that, I had started the business of helping with the medical students. But once I lost my husband, we were married 18 years, I decided, okay, I have one daughter, and she was 12. So I decided, this is it. I'm going to.
How old is your daughter now?
She's 21. She's a senior in college, graduating in May.
Yeah.
And so I decided to do my business full time, which is R&T IMG Clinicals, which is helping international medical doctors.
But hold on.
Mm-hmm.
So you're living on the south side of Chicago.
Yes.
I grew up in Chicago as well.
Yes.
Kind of southwest more. So you're living in Chicago. Were your parents entrepreneurs, or how did you get the bug? Because there's a bug,
It's a bug,
right?
but you know what?
Bug.
The bug skips generations.
Okay.
Okay, my mother and father both from Mississippi, the South, but my mother come from a long line of entrepreneurs. Her aunts who raised her, she lost her mom at a very, very young age, but her aunts who raised her owned a beauty shop, a beauty school, a cafeteria, and a hotel.
And did you see this?
I
Did you
saw
hear
this
about
growing
it?
up.
Okay.
And
you
I
saw
knew
it
that
growing
these
up.
were like, these sisters were just like phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, and I've heard so much about them because they raised my mother and put her through Jackson State University. And that was in, 1940s. So for black women to do that and be such badasses, I thought, I don't know if I can say that.
For women,
yeah.
period. Because,
So,
1940s,
yes. And
not
so
a lot of things were allowed, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they took care of my mom because her mother had died, and their brother was their brother. They're the sisters of the brother. And they raised my mom, and to me, my mom always seemed like a Southern belle. She had so much class and dignity and integrity, and
Now we know where you get it from.
and I'm so
Yeah.
thankful.
Yes.
Younger I didn't know, but now I'm so thankful for the things my mother taught me. Everything she's ever told me, I've learned to be true.
So tell me maybe the number one thing that you relish that she taught you that you utilize all the time.
Your word. Okay. She would say, if you have no word, this is an old saying, you have no house or home. And I never knew what that means, but it means you cherish your word. You'll always have a place because be a person of your word. And so all that goes along with integrity and honesty and just being a person for your word and being there when needed, or just being a giver in general.
Well, and I have found that your word, your actions, they follow you through
follow
life.
you. They do.
And some of these big cities, like Chicago's a big city, but everybody knows each other.
Yes.
Everybody knows each other. So you do one thing or you don't follow up on your word on things you're going to say, people know, and it follows you. And so I think that is so important. That's such a great lesson. It's obviously, done you well.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful for my mother and her teachings. that
So
she
now
taught me.
you get inspired.
I do.
So, but incredible because your mom had 9 kids.
9
Okay,
kids.
that's a lot of children.
Yeah.
And you're in the midst of this. You're getting inspired, by all your aunts and everybody else.
My sister, she had a carpet company. My mom pushed education, so that was really important in our family. And so I just fell in love with the fact of helping, students treat patients, teaching them the correct way to treat patients, especially in the black and brown communities. We are lack of health care, lack of doctors, lack of nurses, and so
And it's getting worse.
And it's getting worse.
Yes.
And so that was like the jarring moment that I decided, okay, I'm going to help these guys who really want to be here. Everyone, the majority of the healthcare industry that are outside of the U.S., they want to work in America.
And I want to tell you something, Toya, as a woman, that one of the things that I found with healthcare, especially you said black and brown communities, and especially with regards to women, is that if we're not comfortable with our doctors, and a lot of times they're not comfortable with us, then you don't ask the right questions. You don't share some of the information. I mean, I hear it from my friends themselves. They have certain things that are going on with their body that they're afraid of, they're concerned about, and they won't bring it up because there's not that comfort level.
It is a difference. The doctors that I employ to teach the new generation of doctors are totally different. Their bedside manner is exemplary. for the older doctors. So they really have to train these new doctors to care, to be empathetic. But coming from certain countries, they're not used to that. The doctor is not your friend. You're not allowed to ask anything. They just tell you, okay, I think you have this, take this, and you're done. So it's the training.
I've had it with, my mom has gone in with me. I won't go into the details of it, but major surgery. And, the doctor was like, well, whether or not it's cancerous, I'll just say that much, we're going to cut everything out.
Exactly.
I said, absolutely not.
No.
This is what I am authorizing you to do. If there is nothing there and it's just, a fiber or a cyst or whatever that is not malignant in any way, you are not touching the rest of my body. You're taking that out, and that's it. If there is, then you're allowed.
Right.
My mom was flabbergasted.
Couldn't believe it,
How
could
could you speak to the doctor that way? It was interesting to hear her, you have to
Advocate. You have to advocate for yourself. You do.
I had already looked and done the research ahead of time, but the concern is a lot of times you're told no. Whatever they say is gold,
it's gold,
and it is not.
No.
So
Advocate
having
for
somebody,
yourself.
and this doctor was, after I said that, he said, you know what? You're right. It is your body. And, of course, you have the right, to ask or say whatever you want.
Exactly.
And, but another doctor may not have said that and probably might have walked out.
Exactly. No,
and not done the operation.
But you have to
But you have to advocate for yourself. And you have to also do the research for yourself.
Yes.
And ask a lot of doctors, second, third opinion, right?
You do, but by me being in the healthcare field for so long, I'm going to come and I'm going to ask the questions anyway. No matter who, regardless who's my mother, my sister. My mother used to tell them, no, wait till my daughter get here, then you can discuss, because whatever she says, I'm going to listen to.
Yes. My mom does that too.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to. Yeah, and you have to be there,
to.
right? We have to be there for each other.
We do. We do.
But well, congratulations on that, and thank you for that. And were you ever nervous? Like, was there ever a period, and I know at that time you were married, so you had a partner
I had a husband.
that you were able to share some of this with, but were there ever moments, like maybe tell us the worst time, if anything, that you had to go through when you've got this plan of action, something unique, because it was different, it's not something that's a normal everyday business that you see. Was there ever any fear, any concerns? How did you manage going through the fire, really?
There was never any, because I love people, first of all. I love geriatric patients. I love healthcare. I love medicine. So I think the thing, but this being something new, it was shocking when I would go to these doctors and say, hey, I want to hire you because I pay the doctors. And I want you to, help me with these students. They've never seen, especially an African-American woman, doing this. And the first thing they want to know is, how did you know about this? Because it's a well-kept secret.
Okay.
How do you know about all these international medical doctors?
And how did you know?
Well,
how do you know?
My niece, who's a doctor, would often have shadowers, doctors from other countries shadowing her.
Yes.
And she's like, Toya, these guys don't, they don't know the things they need to know to treat a patient correctly. So we need to start training them. And I said, okay. So I knew so many doctors. And so I was like, I'm going to do this company, and I'm going to, help train these future doctors. So, after you've been through 25 years working in all the hospitals just about in Chicago, and back then the doctors were our friends. We were friends. It just wasn't, do this with this patient and I'm gone.
We had a
relationship. We would
so
go to their home for parties, and so I just start calling and say, hey, do you want to start training international medical doctors that need your help and a letter of recommendation and need to know how to treat? And so the most doctors I've had employed were 24 doctors.
It's a lot of doctors.
Yeah, it's a lot of, and they're my friends.
Yeah.
So they wanted to make sure that my program succeeded.
Now, I have to ask. I have a lot of friends that are doctors as well. And actually, I have also several friends that are married to doctors. as much as they're great at what they do, they're not always the easiest to manage, as we know.
Yeah.
So how did you manage those relationships? I mean, apart from being friends, but you know, you were also doing a business.
Yeah,
so.
but I think it's because I knew how to treat the doctors.
Okay.
Because that's what we did.
Okay.
You know, that's how, you know, we work with them in the nurses station, and we know sometimes I'll have their charts pulled out if I know the certain doctor was coming.
Yeah.
You know, or do you want coffee? We'll even sometimes get them coffee. So they became friends, and all they had to do was, I wasn't their, you know, per se boss. This was a part-time job for them, which paid very lucrative, but they wanted me to succeed. So they wanted my program to do great. So,
and you know what? I think that is very key in business.
Yes,
you know,
it is.
I've been in business now for a very long time. I did come from an entrepreneurial family background, which I thought I would never get in. Somebody told me, I gave a speech at one time, and I said, I will never be an entrepreneur. I think I was working my way through government, through school, and through government. And then I realized that it's in my blood, and that was something that I wanted to do. But I think the big thing that people forget, you know, because people think of their product or their service as the most important thing in life. But the reality is that you've got to find what is in it also for the other people that you're dealing with, right?
Exactly.
Either for your employees or for your partners or for the public.
yes, exactly.
And that's the key in,
That is
you know,
the
it
key.
being in the long run successful.
That is the key.
So obviously you knew that or learned that.
And it's how you
And that's
treat
wonderful.
people.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
everyone wants to be treated, you know, correctly, I believe, fairly, and with integrity.
Everybody has their little
and you learn them.
key,
and you learn them.
right?
So I would know which
Learn
doctor
it,
I'm going to bring lunch
appreciate
to
it,
this day, which
respect
doctor
it.
I'm going to send, you know. So you learn.
Yes.
You learn your crew.
Yes.
And the crew learn you. They know me. They know
Yes.
Toya says she's coming. She's going to be here.
Yes. Yes.
And so then it just grew, and they would refer, you know, people would hear about these doctors teaching, and so when they'll go to these doctors, say, hey, can you give me a 4-week rotation? Oh, well, you need to call Toya. She'll set you up, and, you know, I do it, but I'm not moving without her. So that's how it went, and we became friends. And
you
to
gain
this
their
day.
respect, it sounds like, and
Yeah,
trust, right?
Yes,
Because
definitely.
that's such a big factor.
Integrity, you have to
yes.
have it.
Yes, I love it. I love that.
You have to have it.
So, time moves forward.
Time moves
And
forward.
tell us how you got into your latest venture.
Goodness, this
This
is
is
closest.
This is a very fun one.
It's
And,
fun, but
yeah.
it's so much love.
Okay.
I've put so much love. I flew back and forth to Mexico to get the taste, but how I got into tequila was I lost my husband of 18 years. My daughter was 12. I stopped working in the hospital.
This was like
and-
8 or 9 years ago?
Yeah,
Okay.
she's 21 now.
Okay.
And he'll be dead 9 years. Well, last week made 9 years.
Okay. Okay.
And
May you rest in peace.
yeah,
also.
thank you,
Yes,
thank you so
yes.
much. And so every Friday, this group of women who I call my sister friends would come over to my home, and they would bring in, and we're going to cheer up Toya, you know, because I'm grieving. So, because I had lost my brother a year prior to losing my husband, so it was really a lot. And then I became a single parent. You know,
a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never
Yeah.
wanted to be a single person, so I became a single parent overnight. So they would come to my home, and we would say, okay, we're having girls' night of tequila. And they say, well, next week I'm going to bring a different one. So we're sitting, laughing, and after everyone would leave, and I would look at these half-empty bottles, and I said, none of this represents us. None of this represents these great, fantastic women who are all at the top of their game, but nothing represents us. And so I said,
So, hold on. How many of you would get together?
about 5 of us.
Okay.
And they consist of executives, CEOs, doctors, lawyers, and nurses.
Okay.
Okay? So we will all get together. Sometimes some other ones that's really not part of the crew would come also.
I want to be invited. No? I want to
Yes,
be
for
invited.
sure. You are
Sounds
most
like a fun
definitely
crew.
invited. It is.
Sounds like my crew.
They were the
Fun crew.
best.
Yes.
And so
And did you get together? Have you traveled together
Yeah,
too? Got
we
a group
always
of girlfriends.
take
We've traveled.
vacations, and
Yeah.
when my husband first died, I had one that fixed dinner for me and Becky. My daughter's Becky. Every Sunday she brought us dinner. Okay, one came and stayed 2 months with me.
Oh my goodness.
In my
All right.
home, to make sure that, get up, Toya. We got to get Becky to school. I know you're grieving, but we have to do these things. So, just experiencing these great friends.
Let me ask you because, and I definitely, we're going to talk about the tequila and how you got there, but that period of grieving, how I think friends sounds like it was one big part of it. But what else did you do? Because, grieving, I think people don't realize you can go through depression.
Yes.
You can go through, you feel exhausted. Your body hurts. I know I've been through it as well, where you go through different things and you don't feel like doing anything. No. How did you balance that out? Because I know some women, I know when my dad passed away, we were around my mom all the time, but my mom didn't want to see anybody. She didn't even want to talk to anybody, and she did not want to talk about. My dad was extremely popular, and she completely shut down. It actually took her a year to begin to really talk. It took her that long. As much as we were with her and took her on trips and did this and that. How did you internally
I
deal with it?
I think I didn't have time.
Okay.
I would cry at night, but I had this young girl looking at me that I had to dedicate. Now I had to make sure, because my husband took her to school in the morning because I had to be at work at 7. So now I was home. I was able to take her to school in the morning. I was able to pick her up in the evening. I was able to be there. Okay, so, and then my mother, who was elderly, I had one day a week that I also took care of her. So I think I didn't have time to ingest the tremendous amount of grief due to the fact that I was so busy taking care of this daughter, taking care of real estate, taking care of my business, and my mother. So
you're pouring your energy and others.
Elsewhere.
Yes, elsewhere.
I think the grief hit me when Becky went to high school and I lost my mother right after losing my husband.
My goodness, wow.
Yeah, so that was like 3 deaths, right, right back to back. So that's when I think the grief hit me. And so for the last 9 years, we would travel back and forth to California. And that was my happy place. So I think that helped me. That healed that part of me.
Why was California your happy place?
The mountains and the people and just the sunshine every day. And so she goes, okay, Mom, I really like California too. So I'm only applying to colleges here.
Which is why she's out there.
And I'm there too.
Yeah.
Because I'm her only parent. I had to be there with her. So I didn't have time to really grieve until after I was able to get her in high school and everything else. And
it sounds like you used nature to ground you.
It did.
Yeah, because I think people forget how nature can really ground you. I always advise my friends, there's an exercise that's really good. Take off your shoes
and walk barefoot
on the ground, and you really feel it.
Yeah, that's ground. It's called grounding.
Grounding, exactly.
And I do that.
It's the best thing
for you. It is the best.
I tell people to do it all the time. Whenever I go on vacation, sometimes I want to do it here in Chicago when it's really cold and you can't.
No, you can't.
So I have to go on a vacation.
Yeah.
It's my excuse to go on a vacation.
That's
so
great.
I can take off. Because that grounding, makes such a huge difference.
Yes,
because you become, once again, part of something that's so
yes,
much bigger than
exactly.
you. Right? And it helps you heal and recover.
So that was one of my coping mechanisms, grounding.
I love it.
Therapy.
Yes.
All of that, and I'm so glad, because I kept telling my mom before she passed, I'm going to move to California. She's like, oh, I don't know, I've never been. So I took her there, and she loved it. And so she would always say, oh, Toya, the mountains. I love the mountains. And so I was like, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I'm there half of the year maybe, and then here to be there for Becky in case she wants to come home on a weekend and just do laundry. I never want her to feel that she's alone because she only have this one parent. So that is
I'm in the same position. It's like, it's so funny. I got a call the other day. I'm on with somebody rather important. And I said, well, I've got to wrap up the call. It's the mothership calling. I go, the mothership calling? And I go, it's my daughter. She's now the mothership. You know?
Right.
It's like, and I got off the phone and I told Alina, who's my I said, she goes, boy, that's a switch. And I said, yeah, because you're like center of the universe for me.
Exactly.
It's what ends up happening.
It is.
Thanks for watching Chic Innovator. Next week we continue with part 2 of Toya the Trendsetter, Healthcare and Tequila. If you're dreaming of starting your own tequila business, you won't want to miss part 2. Find out how Hermanas Amigas Tequila came to be. Tune in and get the deets. You're watching Chic Innovator. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It's free.